So I'm gonna be the emperor. Feel it in the bones.
I am currently playing PoE's Harvest League. So I have been away for a little while. I was playing around with some builds. I was playing around with Wintertide brand. That was my league starter, but I ended up getting enough currency that I could hop onto what has basically become my main build and my kind of build of choice when it comes to Path of Exile, which is Death's Oath. Death's Oath has been a little bit more difficult to play recently because of all the buffs to minion or mob health and all that stuff, and Death's Oath doesn't have a true 6-link setup currently because you still have to really run Arcane Surge in order to maximize the value of it. So it's really more of a 5-link, but it's still pretty strong. So I tried to make a spin to it, and I've been wanting to do it, but I finally am able to do it because of the way they changed the skill tree, because of the way the cluster jewels work, because of some new items that were added that I just didn't pay attention to or didn't really use. So now I'm able to really get this build up and going. So now I have a hybrid mind over matter, or mind over matter Trickster, who currently I'm up to T11 maps, I want to say. Yeah, I'm doing about T11s. I'm currently progressing my Atlas, so I'm going to show that for the build showcase and stuff like that. I have Arsenal already set up, so I'm going to go do one of the Guardians. I'm just progressing my Atlas right now, but I'm currently level 86. I currently have all the stats I need, so high intelligence just for extra energy shield. Extra mana is really important in this build, so getting high intelligence is super important. You have to have 180 strength in order to wear the chest piece, so I've got just enough to get me over that mark from my skill tree and from gear and stuff like that. And then I got about 158 dex just for the gems. You really need about 155, but I got, like I said, I got just a little bit more, so I have a little bit over for stuff like that. As far as my weapon, I'm currently running a Breath of the Council. There's probably a better crafted weapon that you can get, but as far as a cheap starter item that really helps you carry you into endgame stuff, this is nothing's really better than this. I got a perfect 100% chaos roll one. The increased AoE does count towards Death's Oath, so that's good, as well as there are other single target skills as well. All of those are buffed by this, and the KS skills have 40% increased skill effect duration. Is really useful for our Val Blight, our Bane, our Withering Step, stuff like that. All of that is really beneficial because of this 40% increase. So Breath of the Council is really good. Within my Breath of the Council, I currently have Arcane Cloak, Cast 1 Damage Taken, Summon Stone Golem. I have this up to level 14 for my cast 1 damage taken, so it supports level 64. This is kind of just my preference level. You could go up to 15, but I wouldn't go too much higher than that. You don't get too much more of a return as far as the amount of mana that you get for Arcane Cloak. After level like 16, it only goes up like 2% more, so I don't know if that's really worth it within my build, so I just don't recommend that. And then I always want my Stone Golem linked to this, just because having it summon, it taunts, it gives you extra life regen, so that helps balance out the amount of degen that you get from Death's Oath anyways. So that's why I run it on a cast 1 damage taken setup, because one, you don't need it at max level with the amount of chaos resistance I have in this build, and reductions, you don't need that much life to balance it out, but having it is still useful, so I just keep it on my cast 1 damage taken setup, and I don't really need to level it much higher than that. As far as my helmet, I'm currently running the Vertex. I have not gotten a good lab enchant, so that's why it's got Blinker out right now. I've just been running Uber Lab whenever I get the chance to, and whenever I get stuff, and trying to get something good on this. Preferably Bane would be good, Blight one would be good, but right now this is just where I'm at. The reason I picked up the Vertex is because it gives you a huge energy shield, it gives you great chaos resistance, enemies cannot leech mana from you, and then the Socketed Gems is really good because you're going to run your Bane, Despair, Efficacy Support, and then Swift Affliction as your single target setup. So the +1 on Bane gives you a guaranteed level 21 one. If you actually keep going, I might try to push for a Vol version of this corrupted version of this, so I can get a level 22 Bane. I'm gonna push for a level corrupted version of Despair, so I can get a level 22 version of Despair. And this just gives you really solid single target damage output for bossing and stuff like that. And then continuing on, I currently am running Discipline and then Increase AoE and Withering Step. For my movement skill, Withering Step just applies Wither to all enemies around you and applies 6 stacks, so this really helps for clearing, especially for higher tier maps. Things like that are very easy to do once you have Withering Step on. I ran AoE just so, because the normal AoE of Withering Step is about this big. It's about this big, so I just wanted to increase it just for the extra. Just for when I'm running maps and stuff like that, it's just easier when I have a bigger AoE. So I just maintained that. You don't really need any increases to effects or anything like that because of the skill tree. I'm already getting increases to durations and stuff like that. So that balances out this and increases your Withering Steps use to you. Eventually I'd like to get this up to level 20, so I'm just working on that, and then that'll be pretty much it as far as this. My shield is just a basic shield, just a lot of energy shield. You're just looking for a lot of energy shield and then some resistances. I can actually craft on this anytime I need to. It's just open. This is just a really nice rolled good energy shield. I crafted everything that I have as far as base gear with harvest, and then by myself with chaos spamming stuff. So that's where all my crafted stuff comes from. The new amulet that I'm using is the Jinx Juju. It's not a new amulet, it came out in 3.8 I believe, but it's new to me. I hadn't really noticed it, I hadn't used it before, but I was looking at just extra ways to get chaos resistance, extra ways to get strength and dexterity, and then just other stuff for auras and stuff like that. So I found this, and it's actually very, very beneficial in our build because Death Aura is actually a non-curse aura. So I get a guaranteed 15% increased damage from that. The 14% increased effect of my curses is really nice for Despair and Bane. And then Chaos Riz, and then all stats. So it's a really nice overall. The only thing that I don't really take benefit from is the 10% damage from hits is taken from your Spectre's life before you. I thought about running a separate cast on damage taken setup where I would just run cast on damage taken and then Spectres, or I thought about just going and picking up Spectres, but I didn't really like the playstyle of that. I don't really like having to constantly think about keeping them alive, so I just ignored that. So that part is not really beneficial, but everything else on this amulet is actually really perfect for our build. It's literally perfect stuff for our build. I want to get this anointed with Bannerman later. So if I look at our passive tree, and then I go Bannerman, where are we at? I think it's down somewhere. I think it's down by Duelist, I want to say. Yeah, Bannerman's down here. I want to get this anointed onto this so that I have another 15% increased effect of non-curse auras. So that'll be a really huge damage boost as well whenever I get the anointment, but I haven't been able to get that yet because people don't respond. You know, happens with passive exile, so try to message people, they don't respond, it happens. Eventually I'll get the oils for that and I'll be able to set that up and get this anointed with Bannerman, and that would really finish up this really nicely. As far as my one ring, I'm running an Essence Worm, so that I can have +2 level of Malevolence, so I can get a level 22 Malevolence, and then also that frees up some of my mana, so all I have to run is Discipline. I'm currently running Val Discipline, but all you have to run is Discipline, and then that allows you to run Mind of Matter with a nice mana pool for extra defenses. As far as my other rings, just chaos resistance and then a lot of resistances and stuff like that. So it's very, very easy to get. I actually don't run a lot of stats off my gear because I have enough passive tree, so I'm able to just free this up and get a lot of resistances like that. As far as my belt, again, same thing. We're just looking for a lot of energy shield and resistances and stuff like that. I got life and mana because both are beneficial to me, so that's really nice as far as that is concerned. There's still room for improvement on this, but for right now, this is more than enough for my purposes right now. As far as my gloves, I'm currently running a lot of resistances, a lot of energy shield, really high energy to roll onto this. I got a great amount from that. This is solo crafted through Harvest, so Harvest, as far as crafting, is really, really nice. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then on my gloves, I'm currently running Spell Totem support, increased duration, Wither, and then efficacy. This is for single target embossing and stuff like that. Just really helps ramp up your damage really quickly for Bane, and you also increases the damage of your Death Aura as well. So this really helps with bossing, and you'll see me do that in a second. And then the last thing I have is my boots. Again, just resistances, movement speed, energy shield. Very basic boots. These are also self-crafted, so everything is set up that way. Swift Affliction, Void Manipulation, Efficacy of Court, and Vow Blight is my current boot setup. So that's where I'm at as far as that. This is also just helps with single target, and any single target needs I would have. For AoE clearing, I actually keep a Witchfire's Brew. This is constantly active because this is the only way I run Despair for AoE clearing, and pretty much because you're using Withering Step, which gives you phasing and then it also gives you Wither and so much extra chaos damage. It's really easy to keep this maintained. I have this 20% quality. This gives you a lot of damage over time. So these two are the main flasks that I really run through, and this helps me clear very, very effectively. And you guys will see that soon. And then as far as the rest of my flasks, I just have Immediate Freeze flask on my life flask. I should grab a better life flask, but I just really haven't needed it that much. You don't have that much life, so I wasn't that concerned about it. Even as I continue to level this, I'm probably only gonna have about, I would say, probably close to 3k-ish life, but I'll probably have close to 5-6k energy shield and then an extra probably like 1500 mana, so it's not that important. As far as I'm concerned, I have that set up where I'm happy with that. I still can get plenty more energy shield and stuff like that from my tree, plenty more life, a lot of mana. I'm pretty much full up on my damage over time, but mana scales my damage as well, and I'll show you that when I get to the skill tree as well. For my my mana flask is just a immediate bleed flask, very simple, very basic. Just helps whenever you take a big hit, and it procs your Arcane Cloak. This helps you just fill up immediately. My Quicksilver flask is just a movement speed flask. I just have an Adrenaline flask and then increased charge recovery. And then the last flask, I'm really not sure what I want to do with this yet. I've been holding a phasing flask, but once I switch to Withering Step, I already get phasing, so it's not really useful. So I'm trying to determine what I want to run as far as this. I haven't decided yet. So for right now, the Quartz flask is just a holder. But you guys can pretty much run whatever you want to run as far as that's concerned. Probably a Granite flask would probably be the best option here, I would say. As far as that. And then lastly, heading into the last piece of my gear is just the Death Oath. Basic, very basic rundown. It's a Death Oath, gives you a Death Aura, which does damage to you every time you kill something, and then it does damage around you in an aura, and kills enemies around you. So I currently have it set up with Less Duration, Arcane Surge, Efficacy Support, Conic Effect, and Swift Affliction, and then Void Manipulation. The best thing about this chest is that you don't need to link everything. You just have to get the correct coloring, which can be difficult, but it was very easy for me to get this league because I had so much chaos from my league starter, so I just ended up with a very easy amount of chaos spending in order to just buy this outright. I think I just bought it for 100C, I think, something like that, at the full sync select with all the colors set up correctly, so I didn't have to invest too much into that. Having over my skill tree, the motor tree, the skill tree is a little bit weird, because you do want to pick up a lot of increased effect of non-curse aura from skills and AoE, and then you also want to grab a lot of chaos damage and chaos resistance. And then, particularly from a build, you're also going to grab life and mana and energy shield. So in order to accomplish all of that, you have to take this kind of weird tree. But the thing about being Trickster, and this is why I'm running Trickster over something like Occultist, you actually get a lot of regeneration for all three of those, as well as having damage over time and a 70% increased recovery to all three of those, literally just from Patient Reaper. So I really think this build is maximized by being Trickster. I think it's possible to play it as a cultist just because of the innate amount of chaos resistance that you get as a cultist just from the tree, but at the same time, I just feel like it's more comfortable for me to play as far as this playstyle with Trickster, because Trickster gives you damage over time, gives you regeneration for everything from life, mana, and energy shield. It gives you increased maximum mana. It gives you your Ghost Shrouds, and then it gives you reduction, increase to skill effect duration, which is huge for this build. And then reduce damage taken from damage over time, which is also huge from this build because that reduces the damage you take from Death's Oath. So overall, I just think this is the best way to run this tree. I have all of my labs set up. You're 100% gonna start with Patient Reaper, 100%. I traveled into Weave the Arcane and then Prolonged Pain because I picked up Mind Over Matter really early, because I just one, you can get Malevolence super early because you can get Essence Worm is at 48, so you get that super early, so it's not like you need to wait too long to switch over to Mind Over Matter and stuff like that, and then just run Discipline as your one other aura. So that's a very easy setup as far as that is concerned. But heading through our tree is literally just as much chaos damage, mana, a lot of life, chaos resistance and chaos damage over time, auras, some reduced reserve mana just for extra mana reserve. I'm not running a huge amount of it. I actually completely changed the tree. At one point I was running leadership. I decided against it because it's just too far out of the way to grab for it not giving as much benefit as it can, especially in combination with your anointing being Bannerman anyways. It's just not worth going down here in the tree to grab this. So the rest of my tree literally just scales through. Thanks to the Viper, Resourcefulness, all this stuff, just super easy to pick up. I actually decided against Atrophy in favor of Corruption because the increased Wither effect is actually super beneficial, and it just outweighs the flat chaos damage over time multiplier. At least in my opinion, because of the fact you're always going to be running around with Withering Step. I think it just outweighs it so much more. And then the rest of the tree is really just picking up as much energy shield, life, basic stuff. Resistances, I did grab both bite and physique just for the extra strength, just so I didn't have to worry about crafting that onto my gear in order to wear the Death's Oath. You can do that. It's really not that hard to get strength on gear, and you have plenty of open pieces of gear to get that. I just didn't feel like it, so I just stuck with this. Eventually I might mess around with it and get stats onto my gear so I don't have to worry about that, and then I could take these off and go into probably I'm not really sure what I would do with that. Maybe just grab some extra mana, extra energy shield, some basic stuff. I might actually no. I would pick up Hexmaster. If I would get the strength off that, you just drop these two, you stay with this instead of going up to the full 4 route, and then you'll just use that 3 gems to pick up Hexmaster. But that would be at like maximum level. It's not really important. It's not that necessary. How it currently set up is very useful. As far as my 2 cluster jewels, I'm running 2 medium cluster jewels. So this one is just a damage over time one, and I'm looking for Brood Potency and Student Decay. So what Student Decay offers is the chaos resistance and then a huge amount of damage over time. And then as far as Brood for Potency, that's a lot of increased damage over time, and then a lot of flash recharges, increased recovery of life and mana recharges. The reason I want to run this is because I'm hybrid, so I constantly want to have a lot of flash recharge. That just helps benefit my build, and because you're using so much movement speed and you're relying on Witchfire Brews so often for cursing everything, you just want to maintain the increase that way. So that's what I picked off of my first cluster jewel. You can get this really early. This is level 40, so this didn't take that long for me to get. I'm actually just running stats off this as well, so that's really nice. And then over here, I am running another medium jewel. This doesn't benefit me at all, these 2 nodes, so it kind of sucks that they're elemental damage. I wish they were just flat damage. That would benefit me even more, but they're not, so it is what it is. But as far as this jewel, it's another chaos damage over time multiplier, and then I'm running Dark Annihilation and Exposure Therapy. So exposure therapy gives you a flat 10% chaos damage over time multiplier, and then 30% chaos resistance against damage over time, which again helps us with reducing the damage we take from Death's Oath. And it also supplements the chaos damage over time multiplier that you're not going to get from not taking atrophy. And then the other thing I'm taking is dark ideation. Dark Ideation, I'm not really sure how to pronounce that, but Dark Ideation gives you 2% increased cast damage per 100% maximum mana, so up to 80%. So in combination with Prodigal Perfection, you're scaling a huge amount of just damage, flat damage from your mana, which is really, both of these will benefit Bane, because this is flat chaos damage, which benefits Bane, and then this is spell damage, which also benefits Bane. So that's really what helps you for your single target, and then this also allows you to scale chaos damage for your added mana, so having a lot of mana benefits your Death's Aura as well, because you can just run around and that'll pick up damage over time just from this. So right now I have 2,000 mana, so I'm getting 40% increased damage from this, because 2,000 total mana divided by 100 gives you 20%. And then 20% times 2 is 40%. So that's guaranteed 40% damage from that, and then this is guaranteed 40% from this. So it's a really huge amount of chunk of damage from just those 2 cluster jewels and those 2 notables. So yeah, the last thing I want to do is just, I'm gonna go and hop into this map. I was doing a Baron Citadel just to show off, and then I'm gonna call it a day, because that's all I want to do. Hopefully this isn't too laggy. I was having a little bit of problems. My game got entirely reset. All my settings got reset for some reason, so I don't really know what was going on there, but it happened. It is what it is. So at the worst, it just might get a little grainy. I have to figure out what's going on with that later and try to revert my settings to where I had them at. But it shouldn't be too much of a problem. Baron, and this should give you a good example of what's how the build currently runs and how it looks as far as oh, this is Arsenal, so I have to look for the bottoms here.
Just need a moment to catch my breath. Not all murders are equal.
Let's see. Oh, the other thing that's really great about Withering Step is that it actually doesn't count your Death's Oath as an ability, so you can actually maintain it perfectly, which is better than Phase 1. Because you are not actually casting anything during it, so you can get the full benefit of it.
Do you know the way?
Okay, about running that way. And hopefully I can do this deathless. That would be really nice. As far as the boss thing, you're just gonna want to drop your Bob Light, and then you can just stand here in your thing. Get your Bane off, get your Bob Light. It's actually really, it's honestly not that bad of single target damage, which is something that Death's Oath usually suffers from, is not having great single target, but it's actually pretty doable with this. The only problem is I'm not gonna have Bob Light for this. Probably should have saved it. that. Just 1 second. There you go. And there you go. So that's a good example of what my build currently looks like. What did I just get? Where are you? Red? Okay, so this... Which one did I take? No, that was the right one. This. That one's from this one. That means red is from here. There we go. So now that increases that. So as you can see, I already have some tier 11s, some stuff like that. I'm still working on my end game stuff. I'm still working on getting a higher level. I'd like to push for 90, but that's how this build runs. So I'm gonna catch you guys all later. I just wanted to do a quick showcase of that and everything as far as that. So catch y'all later.
I'm gonna be the emperor, feel it in my bones. I'm gonna be the emperor.